Alright, so I have a 20-minute break for studying from studying for exams. Um, and yeah, so I just wanted to do a Tankit update. Um, I made some changes. Now, the thing that I wanted to show off is these three methods. And I developed this when I was creating my rebound game in C# with Unity, which I did finish, by the way. Uh, now, here, so here's what I'm proud of. What is the problem? So the problem is I have my tank right here, right? And I've got the head. Now the head has to be rotated in the direction of my cursor. How do I do that? Well, it's actually quite difficult. And so I created this so it turned out that in Unity, there was a method that just allowed you to rotate something towards a point. You could set that point to be your cursor or like an object. And I didn't know that you could do that, but before I found out, I had already so because I didn't know that, I developed this kind of system um, to do it right before I knew that like they had an integrated feature into the game, into their game engine. And this was essentially the math. So in a nutshell, what I have are 3 points, right? I have the position. I have the position of the thing that's being rotated. In this case, it's the player, or the player's head. Then I have the position. The second point is the position of my cursor, and the third point is the position. I call it the base position, right? And the base position is like I believe the base position is up here. So that would be like 0 right here, right? That's the base position. And essentially what I do with these 3 points is I create an invisible triangle, and I use the inverse of cosine, I think. Yeah, a cosine, which is inverse of cosine. And I use some math, plug in the triangles, coordinates, stuff like that. And I calculate the angle at which I need to rotate. So, how does this work? Well, I need to rotate it, right? Rotate it, and this is in radians, right? So I have to find the theta, and I need to rotate the object um, a certain degree. This is in radians, by the way. And so how do I do this? Well, I have a variable called head degree, which is constantly being changed. So it gets the angle to the position, and in this case, that angle, well, I mean that position that it needs to rotate towards is my cursor's point. So I pass in the x and y of my cursor, and you can see pass in the x, the y, and so then I have these three doubles: side A, B, and C. Now this gets the distance, right? This gets the distance, or the length of each side of the triangle. Um, so side A, it's going to get the center. So these coordinates, x and y, those are the coordinates of the actual head of the player, which is the thing that's being rotated. So that's the coordinates of the thing that's being rotated. So side A, 2, the I believe this is the base position. Yeah, I believe this is the base position. This is the base position. So you can just think of it like here. Wait, let me take out paint.net. So this would be the player, right? That's the player, right? Um, and so this would be 1 point, right? And then the second point would be here, right? This is the base position. This right here is the base position. Um, so that would create one side. This is side A. And then we're going to have side B, which is okay, so that's the position of the player, right? So I'm just going to put this here, P for player, all the way to the position of my cursor. Let's say that position is right here. So this is going to be, whoops, that's going to be a line there. This is going to be side B, and then I'm gonna get the distance between this. So this is the cursor. So this is side C, right? And this point right here is the mouse position. This is the base position, which is basically like, you can think of it as it's like the 0 coordinate, but for the angle, right? So what I do is I create this invisible triangle, and I use a cosine to get to the angle. So cosine would get the side from the angle. A cosine, or inverse cosine, I think, if I remember my geometry from last year correctly, is this will get the angle. I believe it's this angle, yeah. It'll get this angle from the length of each side, I believe. Now, I remember the thing I was most proud of when creating this is that I didn't need to do any research, because I created this system solely based on the math I had learned that year in math class, right? We had just learned how cosine, a cosine, or inverse cosine, sine, and tangent all worked. We had just learned that. And so from that knowledge, I created this system. I got the angle to a position through getting all of the sides, and then I got the target angle by plugging in all of the length of all of those sides, and using the a cosine cosine stuff. So you can see get side. This is square root of the power of the distance or something like that to the power of 2 squared, whatever. Here, let me do this. This is the distance formula right here. Distance formula slash equation. And it's the distance formula. And this function just plugs in the 2 coordinates, or the 4 points, into the distance formula and returns the distance, or the length of the distance between the 2 points. That's all this does. This is the distance formula, right? And then we just use each of the lengths from the distance formula of each side of this invisible triangle, plug it into this method, which uses those 3 sides and their lengths combined with the inverse cosine math, and it returns the angle, or the angle of the triangle. So it returns this angle of the triangle, right? Because that's what we're looking for, right? So if we have the object rotated this way, right? And so now we're trying to find the angle to turn to get to, so that it's pointing this way, right? So we get this point, this point, this point, we get the distance, and then we plug it into the inverse cosine formula thing, and then that gives me the angle. Anyways, so the result of this is, of course, a working, rotating player. And then, of course, I just plugged in so you can see it turns on my the client on my blue client and my red client, same thing here. And of course I can place stuff, and here I can place stuff as well. And then once all of the objects are placed, I can move around with my rotating head, which I think is pretty cool. Now I do have to fix the collision. For some reason, I can go through that, which is a little odd. Yeah, I'll have to fix that, but that's not my priority. My priority is exams right now, so I'll do that some other time. But yeah, as you can see, it rotates the head. And yeah, same thing here. Works perfectly. Yeah, alright. That's it. Yeah, that's it. And I think, yeah, that's it. Alright. See y'all in the next video. See ya.